Hello and welcome to episode 170 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and it's a sad time we're coming to you today. Got a lot of demonstrations that have turned into riots and civil unrest, most of it justifiably so. I don't sympathize with looters, but I do sympathize with the demonstrators and protesters because, as I sent out on Twitter this morning, I had a picture of the Lorraine Motel with Dr. King's I Had a Dream. And I said, it's been 52 years, what's different? And the answer, unfortunately, is not a lot. And, 52 years is a long period of time. And then I said, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And that's the truest thing you can ever say. So we got a lot of healing to do and a lot of coming together to do. It's going to take a lot of work to do it. And what I'll say is 1968 was an election year. We made a change in 1968, so I'm hoping 2020 results in the same kind of a change.
I wish we had a better choice, but what are we going to do?
Yeah, we didn't have a great choice in 68 either.
That's true.
Wasn't a good choice. In fact, there was a vice president that was running and lost, just like Biden, just like Biden is doing so.
Yes.
And then Nixon won the presidency, and I worked for McGovern, who didn't get the nomination, so in 72. 72 wasn't a great year either.
Yes. Well, hopefully this.
So let's talk about other things.
Well, basketball and hockey seem like they are definitely on track to come back. What do you think of the basketball proposal as is, where it's about 20 to 22 teams? There'll be like 7 regular season games, and then hop into the playoffs.
For me, since everybody missed out on their team, I would let every team in, and I'd let them own in both leagues. I mean, that's my sentiment. I would just have a tournament, and everybody was in until they were out.
I really like borrowing the World Cup soccer format of, group play and then ending up with, the best teams out of the group. Because you feel like if it's group play, if it's a one and done NCAA tournament, you get some benefits because you get your Cinderella story. But you don't want to see Orlando somehow beat, Milwaukee, a rusty Milwaukee team, and advance in the tournament. More likely.
Yeah, I would probably. My original thought about the one game thing, I kind of let go. But I had I play a 3-game series.
Because you would think if you're the better team, you should win a 3-game series. Like there's always the fluke game. Maybe somebody just gets insanely hot and they're throwing in. They're just unconscious from 3, and you don't want to see. You don't know. But I think people hopefully people respect this title because, like people said, the Spurs title has an asterisk, and somehow the Heat title, with a 60-something game where Derrick Rose got hurt, doesn't have one. So it's a weird, It'll be interesting to see who wins the title and then how the title is thought of.
Yeah, see, I would be fine with not having a title this year, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but I mean, they played 50-something games. I mean, I'm good with the champ.
A lot of people down here are surprised on the NHL side. A lot of people down here were shocked with the choice of Columbus.
Yeah.
City.
Was that based on, a number of cases, outbreaks, or like what was their? I don't remember why they got it. Like I understand why
Tampa's pretty low.
Yeah. Well, I understand why like Disney is going to Disney's got a giant place where you can, take the players, eventually take their families and the media and keep everybody sort of locked away.
Yeah, you can do everything. Orlando's perfect. But, I love Columbus as a city, but I don't see an advantage of Columbus over Tampa.
No. I mean, I would have liked to see the original, obviously I'm biased because Pittsburgh's not part of the original, but, Pittsburgh and, maybe the first 10 or 15 NFL, I think the big NHL cities get the teams if possible.
But if heat really is a factor in this virus spread,
yeah, then I guess
Tampa makes more sense than Columbus.
And Tampa makes more sense. Arizona, Carolina, I mean, all the places you wouldn't expect hockey to be.
And Miami doesn't make any sense because it's still really bad there.
Yeah.
So that I understand. But, looks like we're going to have sports in, I would say, mid-July.
It's looking like it.
Unless, what everybody said this past weekend with all these demonstrations and people in close proximity and everything else, we have spikes in all those major cities, which could happen as well.
Right. Well, like in Wisconsin, they decided just to open up Wisconsin was like, screw the phases, we're just going to pop back open, full tilt, and they had their worst outbreak since the beginning of the outbreak. So, it's a crazy, crazy time. It's just
we don't have an answer.
No.
I mean, we could have done it, and even the countries like South Korea had to pull back a little bit now too. I mean, so I think Taiwan is really the leader in the world in this area.
And New Zealand, New Zealand was on top of it from day one.
But it's an island, you shut off an island. That's pretty good way to do it.
And they shut down.
Nobody coming in, nobody going out. That's a good way to control.
And they shut down far more than we shut down as far as their quarantine. Like it was almost everybody was home.
Yeah.
And baseball, you got to feel for baseball, which still can't seem to get their stuff together. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but considering baseball, the last time I remember baseball being like, outside of, I went to college in Massachusetts. It's a Red Sox town, so obviously people love baseball. But outside of like the major baseball markets, like it's probably McGuire Sosa the last time baseball was the story. And they had a chance to come back and sort of
the story, yeah.
And they really had a chance this time. I feel like if they had been able to figure it out and come to terms quicker, because it's not even that they're taking as long as they're taking. Now they're going to be out at the same time. They're not as popular as basketball. Basketball's out. I'm watching basketball. I'm watching baseball. But if they had figured out a way to, at least get their stuff together, and they could have played, like a Little League World Series style, like have everybody all locked up and just tried to build the goodwill.
Yeah, I mean, if no revenue's coming in, what are you going to divide up?
Yeah. And again, I think it makes you...
I understand they have contracts. I understand that. But, I mean, the contracts are under the assumption that there's going to be 162 games played, and there's going to be attendance, and there's going to be this, there's going to be that. There's a lot of assumptions. They don't all go away. I mean, yeah, there'll be TV money, and that's the money they're going to divide up, but it's not going to be like it was if everything was open in regulation. And then the more you damage the game by you have millionaires fighting billionaires.
Yeah.
People, I mean, even I'm a diehard, loyal baseball fan.
The biggest I know.
And I'm willing, if they screw it up, it's going to be tough to get me back.
Yeah. Because again,
I have no sympathy here. I mean, David Price, I love David Price now for going out, and he's going to give every minor leaguer in the Dodger organization that's not on a roster $1,000 in the month of June. Why don't the Dodgers do that? And if you saw you don't follow me on Twitter, but I said, my Twitter was, hey, Mike Trout, are you in? Do the same thing in Hazel. What's gonna miss? I mean, if the teams aren't gonna do it, then the guys need to stand up and do it, because remember where they were and remember, pay back the game. So I don't know. I'm not real happy right now about baseball.
No, and it also, obviously the NBA, the owners are still kings. They own this franchise, but at least the players have.
But they're partners.
But they're partners, and I think you look at any successful business, from. If people feel like they're a part of something, they're going to work harder. They're going to be more willing to make sacrifices. They're going to be willing, and when you do it the other way, like baseball is doing it, you're just going to get a lot of anger on both sides, and it's never going to get anywhere. It's a lesson for every business that.
And what I would say is it's got to be a true partnership like the NBA.
Yeah.
Your partners. You're not just partners on the 15th, 30th of the month. You're partners. You work together to do policy. You work together to make codes. You do discipline together. Nothing's arbitrary. You're partners. So maybe this is what needs to happen, but I'm pessimistic on the baseball side. I've seen too much of this, and then Scott Boras is so militant about it all, and he'll wreck the game himself. So.
He's trying. It seems like it. Yeah, it's very sad. Like I said, I think Barry Bonds was skinny in on the Pirates the last time I was really, really into baseball.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in Pittsburgh, collecting baseball cards and playing Little League.
Your birthday party at Three River Stadium.
Three River Stadium, yeah. Like I said, I did enjoy the sport at one point, but they just have not made it easy to like.
Common sense.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how many and again, as a sports fan and someone that still at least watches, the ESPN, Fox Sports, some different segments here and there, and read Bleacher Report and ESPN. I'm still involved in sports, but I don't know if I would, I can't tell you how many baseball players I would even recognize when they walk through the door, no matter how good they are. And Aaron Judge
would. Think about it too. If basketball doesn't start their season until December next year, they're going to go into the spring, right?
Right.
And hockey starts late. They're going to go into the spring. Then you get the NFL around the corner. Hey, there might not be any room for baseball in my heart.
No. There just might not be. Yeah. And again, it seemed like this was, if they were all paying attention, this seemed like a golden opportunity to be like, let's be the first ones out of the gate. Let's be on the forefront of this. Let's get people to rediscover baseball. Because like I said, Aaron Judge, I would probably recognize as an athlete, but I probably would assume he played football. They've just done a really bad job, and they're not helping themselves. Because again, with soccer coming around and people are going to find other things to watch, other things to do. So, and I was telling you, I watched old NFL games yesterday.
Yeah.
I was out at my first family function, less than 10 people. We still maintained a lot of social distancing, so that was good. Most of us anyway. And I watched 2 NFL playoff games. I watched the Texans and Chiefs game, and I watched the Seahawks and Packers game. And I did have a moment where I really missed football. And I realized my memory is going too, because I didn't remember how those games went for the most part.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I was like, I know the Chiefs win because they won the Super Bowl, but I'm like, wow, the Texans are up by a lot. And then all of a sudden, it went the other way. And then the Packers game, I couldn't remember. I know the 49ers were in the Super Bowl, but that's about as far. I was like, did the Packers or the Seahawks win this game? I don't even know.
So the other day, remember the Super Bowl we went to in Tampa?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So through 3 quarters, the Steelers had held the Cardinals to 7 points and 140 yards. Did you know that?
No.
Because we're talking about that team maybe being one of the greatest defenses of all time. And then that fourth quarter, they gave up, I forget how many points, 17 points, I think, or 14 points.
Yeah.
And 200-some yards in 1 quarter.
Well, I remember Larry Fitzgerald running towards us as he split the defense on that 60 or 70-yard touchdown. That's very vivid in my mind. It was terrifying.
Yeah. But I didn't realize that because it felt like a close game to me the whole game.
It did.
So I didn't feel, I didn't realize it was 7 points and 140 yards over 3 quarters. So I was really surprised. Well,
because that drive at the end of the half, the incredible James Harrison play that, for me will be the greatest play in football history because it had the most, it was an incredible play and an incredible moment and had the most personal impact for me. So, I'm at the Super Bowl with my dad watching Steelers win a football game and, a player I love made an incredible play. But they had driven all the way down the field and were about to score a touchdown. So it seemed like they had like 80 yards just right there.
Well, hopefully we'll get some good sports in July. So June's going to be another wasteland or a trip down memory lane, depending on how you want to look at it.
It's true, but there's I've got a couple of TV shows to recommend, so there's stuff to watch.
There is plenty of stuff to watch. Yeah, I agree with that, and there's plenty of stuff to read.
Plenty of stuff to read, and then we've discovered the occasional board game or video game to play co-op together. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do. Just rediscovering other things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. When I get back down to the beach, one of the things I was passionate about when I was growing up was Stratomatic baseball. The one with the spinner.
Oh yeah.
And we have that at the beach because I bought a couple of those on eBay. And I think there might be more than one down there. But the next time we go on the beach, I'm going to go out. I was able to play that by myself, so I'm going to do that the next time we go to the beach. I can play Stratomatic baseball. Yeah,
it's a fun game. Remember you got Ozzie Smith who had the tiniest home run strike ever. Almost impossible to ever hit a home run with Ozzie Smith in that game. But as far as TV recommendations, for the first time since I got the service, and I got it for free when I bought my my new iPad, but I can recommend strongly 2 things on Apple TV of their original programming.
Okay.
The first is the adaptation of Defending Jacob, which our mom has read the book of. I don't know if you read the book or not.
I did not, but I'm going to watch the series.
It's got J.K. Simmons, Pablo Schreiber, who I really like, Chris Evans, and it's just really, really well done. It'll keep you guessing for the most part, and it's really well acted. It's a mini series, so you're only going to watch. It's basically 7.5 to 8 hours long, and you're going to get your conclusion. So you're getting everything all at once. Really high production values. It's really compelling. The gist of it is Chris Evans is a DA. He's investigating the murder of a child in the woods, stabbed. It turns out his son has a fingerprint on the body, was seen with a knife, and his son is now sort of the main suspect. And it's this family trying to come to terms with, did he do it, did he not do it? But it gets a little more complex because this isn't spoiler term. This is probably the last thing I'll tell you about it. Is Chris Evans' father is J.K. Simmons, who was in jail for murdering Chris Evans' mom. So there's the whole, always the geneticism of murder is also kind of, is that a thing? The murder gene, some other stuff. It's just really, really well done.
Okay.
And the Boston accents are quality Boston accents. The people that can do them, and they do them well, and everybody else just has a normal accent. Because even if you go to real Boston, not everybody is pack the card, have it, yeah. That's not how people talk. So,
All right, I might have come across the worst accent by an actor ever.
Oh.
And it's a famous actress, Robert Mitchum. And the movie is The Sundowners, set in Australia.
Oh.
And he's supposed to be Australian. And he's Australian about every 25th word. It is, I sat there in awe, and I had to turn it off after about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think Kevin Costner makes a run for his money in his Robin Hood performance, which was not only the worst screen depiction of Robin Hood in the history of film, but his accent is all over the place as well. Like every fifth word is British. And again, there's got to be somebody on set that just would be like, look, it's not working. Let's just stop. Just be American. It's fine. Doing it poorly is worse than not doing it at all. We'll just let people get used to the fact,
Yeah, I agree.
And the other show is a surprise show, although people close to me tell me that I like musicals more than I think I like musicals. I've always said that I've only liked like 2 or 3 musicals, but I've had a number of excellent experiences with musicals. And from the creators of Bob's Burgers, along with Titus Andromedon, Josh Gad, Kristen Bell, there's Central Park and Stanley Tucci on Apple TV. There's only 2 episodes so far, but it's a cartoon that takes place in Central Park. You learn about the history of Central Park while you're watching the show, which is pretty cool. I didn't really know a lot about Central Park. And,
that's cool. I like that in of itself.
And it's a legitimate musical where there's a little bit of talking, and then there's a big 5 to 7 minute song, with multiple people singing and moving around, and they're really catchy, really good songs. It's only 2 episodes so far, so I don't know how the whole series is going to go, but I mean, you've got a lot of really good Broadway actors doing the voices, and people, and the people that aren't are like Kristen Bell, who obviously sings with Disney, so she's,
Yeah.
And it's a really good story, and like I said, the songs are catchy, which I think is, I think if you don't like musicals, it may be that you found musicals that you don't enjoy the music from.
Well, you would like Book of Mormon.
Yes. And I liked the South Park musical, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, Singing in the Rain was good, and We Saw Something Rotten, which was excellent. And, like I said, the list of things I've enjoyed music in have just,
Yeah.
I don't think I can...
Like me. You like more than you think you like.
I like more than I think I like. But this is something that if I recommended to a lot of people, they would be like, really? And I'd be like, yes, it's really good.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've got a couple book recommendations.
Yes.
Michael Connelly has a new book out called Fair Warning. And, Michael Connelly of Bosch fame and then Lincoln Lawyer fame. But this is his third character, Jack McAvoy, who he featured in The Poet, The Scarecrow, and now Fair Warning as a journalist. And it was a page turner. I finished it in about 24 hours. So, really excited. I think he's a great, great, great writer. I enjoyed Michael Connelly a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I was sad to learn, though, that next year is going to be the last season of Bosch on Amazon Prime. They're going to wind up the series, so.
And that's a show, even if you've never read the books, it's a really good cop show.
It's so well done. And then the other book I want to recommend is Scott Turow, who wrote, I forget what his early books were, but this is Seattle. It's Michael Douglas was in the movie. Presumed Innocent was his first.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And this is the third with that character called The Last Trial. And I'm set to start that one later on today. So 2 two really, really fun books, exciting books. And then if you like Eric Larson, who's written a lot of really, really good things like Devil in the White City, and wrote a book about the Lusitania, a book about the Atlantic Telegraph. He writes it's not historical fiction. It's nonfiction. I would say it's historical nonfiction that reads like fiction.
Yeah, it's like it reads like fiction, which is nice, really nice.
Yeah, he just wrote The Vile and the Splendid and the Vile, which is about Churchill. And so I'm not really enamored about reading about Churchill, but I like the way Eric Larson does his research and writes his stories, so I'm going to read that one now too.
Yeah, you wish school books were written the way Eric Larson writes, because I feel like you'd have kids way more invested. As you're getting the facts and you're getting the history, but you're getting it in a beautiful narrative that you're just compelled to keep reading, and it's something that, you know.
He's such a good writer.
And I can also recommend a movie. Okay. I saw The Hunt, which is the movie that was pulled for theaters during it is it's a lot about, you know, it skewers both the far right and the far left pretty hard. In a sort of a, so, you know, I mean, the premise is basically that, you know, this text thread gets out from these, I guess you could call them liberal elites, where they talk about how they need to, you know, there's all these government conspiracies about, you know, rich people go hunt people here, hunt people there. And they essentially say that they should go hunt these idiot rednecks. Or, you know, they call them a bunch of different horrible names. So that gets out, all these liberal elites lose their jobs, and they decide to actually do it. But you see that, you know, most of the hillbillies are, you know, and the far right conspiracy people are just idiots. And then the people on the far, far left are, you know, almost equally to blame for all the problems. And then obviously you have your one person who was a mistaken identity person who didn't actually tweet anything out. But, you know, they got the wrong person at the wrong time. But it's a really enjoyable hour and a half. The woman from Glow, what is her name? I can't think of it. She's the blonde girl. She plays Liberty on Glow. She's the lead, and she's really, really good. And very convincing interaction scenes. But it's like a fun, you know, quick action movie. I think it's like 90 minutes. So, and I know that was on, you know, that went from release to now you can just rent it for a normal price, not the $20 of new release films coming out.
Cool.
Yeah. But I think people will enjoy it a little bit more than they thought they were. It's a Blumhouse, of course, because if you have any sort of, even if you're horror adjacent, I feel like you can't make a movie unless you're somehow produced by Blumhouse at the stage.
Let's see, have I been to a restaurant this week? No. I've been to Miller's Ale House. I don't count that as a restaurant because I've been there a million times.
Yeah, and I went to Bayou Hot Wings, which Adam Richman from Food Network does the best wings in the country, and they're really, really good. And I continue to order DoorDash to them to like support the locals, because it's important to support your local businesses if you can.
Okay, here's one for you. If you're cooking at home.
Okay.
I have always said I don't like salmon. And so I had salmon and chili that I really liked, and I had salmon the other night that I really, really liked. And, you know, salmon has a very distinctive taste, but this didn't have it. And so my friend cooked it with Paul Prudhomme's Fish Magic seasoning.
Okay.
And he's also got a salmon seasoning, and he's also got a blackened redfish seasoning. So it's all available on Amazon. So I went and bought the seasoning, so I'm going to start cooking my fish more regularly with the Paul Prudhomme seasonings. Chef Paul from New Orleans, the late Chef Paul. So, I don't know, we continue to investigate, trying to cook different, cook healthy, eat a little bit more fish, and so these seasonings are pretty good.
I'm going to have to look into those then.
Yeah.
And
right in your backyard.
And this is a tiny cooking tip, but an obvious one that people don't realize. Like all the great restaurants of the world, they don't fry their bacon, they bake their bacon. And trust me, bake your bacon. You get...
I still haven't done that, Jason. I'm going to experiment.
You get full, crisp slices. It's super easy. And the best thing is, double foil line your pan. Take your bacon, once it's done, once it's cooked to the degree of cooked you like it to. I know they have that scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm more of a 4. I like a little bit crispy to it. But then you let it soak. You let it kind of congeal, peel up the foil, throw it away. Didn't even make a mess. No grease to deal with.
Okay.
because the grease is all now congealed on top of the foil that you throw away, which I know is a little bit wasteful, but it's, if anyone that's cooked bacon understands the convenience of it.
So, as our listeners will notice, as sports have kind of gone away and dissipated, Jason and I have expanded our itinerary to get into more entertainment, more books, more food, and that's what we have to do until the sports come back. So hopefully tell your friends it's not all about sports, that we're into a variety of topics.
Oh, yeah.
And we give you our take on whatever we ever take on.
And I've got a couple of new pizza or food things coming this week that I'll have some food information for next week. And then we're just about to finish True Blood that I talked about last week. So I'll be starting a new show that I can talk about next week as well. And then I guess special shout out to 30 Rock, which has been my sitcom of choice for the last few weeks. I saw a statistic that there's 7.14 jokes per minute in an episode of 30 Rock. And
well, I'm good. That's on my list to restart that now too.
Yeah,
I didn't watch it regularly when it was on, so I've got to watch it.
And it's you can pick up any episode, and watch it, but like a lot of sitcoms, there is some referential stuff, and knowing the characters, you get more jokes you get more things out of the jokes, and throwbacks here and there. But it is one of my all-time favorite sitcoms, and I can't say enough good things about it. So.
All right, I'll get to it. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe. Feel for your fellow man. Be caring. Be kind. Be safe.
And let's make sure we change history this time and not try to keep repeating it like we've done for way too long. However that comes about.